Now listen here, sir, you're going to have to move this fine engine. It's now time for the Grand Parade of Steam, and you've parked this in contravention of the Highways Act. Absolutely, you need to move it. All these other engines are waiting to come into the arena. These fine people are waiting, and you're stopping them, aren't you? He's having his tea, everyone. Shall we give him a boo? Oh, that was a bit naff. Shall we give him a boo?
I think someone's going to be walking home. Sue wants to bid me for a classic bicycle. One careful owner. Rollers tend to go by weight. This is a T3 roller, so nominally it's a 6-tonner. It'd weigh a bit more than that. And it worked in Oxfordshire. And in the early 80s it was purchased by Keith Honor, named Jenny. He went on to spend several years rallying it. He then passed to the Colbin brothers, whose name's still on the side of the cab. Thanks very much. That was lovely. Okay, we've got some more of our miniature engines now. We've got Tigger. Work here at Marston have been repainted, owned by Morris Phipps and Lewis Hughes, and he's towing Doug Fleet on his 4-inch scale Burrell Scenic. Another one of our Burrell. And rolled it out for us this morning before any of those steam rollers have got any steam. Built by Aveling Barford, this one, based in Grantham, and worked for the urban district of Darlaston, and it's got a The engine was new to Tate Brothers of Farthingstone in Northamptonshire. So a real big engine now. This is an 8 horsepower Marshall engine. Help yourself as the forerunner of the modern lorry. It's followed by Coleman's Mustard with Nathan Gerald. It's very striking. It rained for a week as a consequence, and it did. And now we have another phone, this one in 9-inch scale. As you can see, phone. gear chain drive down to the rear axle. Another one of our Avelings now, and this one's got a horse on the front. It's Jack Brown's compound overhead side valve Prince Albert, in the care of the Vickery family this weekend, and for sale I'm told, so if you want a foot on the ladder of steam engine ownership. DC, when I'm doing my day job and we go to a fair and they come along with their Showman's engine and say, can we run your lights? And I say, can you do 3-phase? And they can't do 3-phase, so no, they can't. Horsepower engines, so quite small in the scheme of things for Showman's engines, but a nice practical size for roading and getting about. We now have Mr. Paul's Auction. I was talking about auctions earlier, and
How long have you had it? About a year. Lovely. Thank you for bringing it along. Thanks a lot.
it's actually been rallied by them in both forms. So this is a half-size Savage with alterations and on a Sunday. He was told it had rained for a week as a consequence, and it did. And now we have another Foden, this one on the road engine or the tractor, to be used by the travelling showman on the fair, transporting and powering rides such as you can see down there. This particular one started its life as a steamroller and has been converted to a showman's. It's been in this form. Lovely engine, that one, beautiful finish on that. Another one of our Foden wagons now. This one's on cast wheels again, and it's another one from the Vickery stable. Now I always look forward to this one coming in the arena. This is Taylor. Achievement. He said the more bits he found of it, the more people said, oh, I've got a bit of that wagon. And he was able to put the thing back together. Now we have a 6-inch or half-size Garrett tractor. So a steam tractor's not an agricultural machine, it's a light horse. of their Showman's engines, because when Rose went from having a steam centre engine like the Gallivers here to having individual electric motors powering each car, the load was far too much for your ordinary Showman's engine and it used to throw the belt off. Foden Omnibus, and that one's another one in 9-inch scale, known as Amber. And you've got a bus on a rally field, you've always got a friend, particularly if there's a pub run in the offing. Miniature engines now. It's a Burrell single-cylinder traction engine, agricultural engine. It came to grief because on an engine like mine, a Marston, you push the regulator to go faster. On a Fowler, you push the regulator to stop. Someone with a Garrett told me that was the right way. I said, so when you get in your car, obviously the throttle pedal's on the floor and you put it up to go quicker.
So down here in the Land Rover department, and what can you tell me about this stuff?
Now we have a motor roller. So the next progression from the steamroller. This one's actually already been in the arena. The pressure has reached what is set as the working pressure of the boiler. If it increases past that point, the safety valve lifts to release any excess pressure. Okay, so Fred is a Devonshire type Burrell traction engine owned by the Warby family for very many years in 6-inch or half-size scale. And this is followed by the Marshall, owned by Mr. Crump. It was purchased by Derek Rule from Ickleton and towed home with the help of the late Steve Neville behind his McLaren engine to oversee it and restored. And Derek went on to rally this engine until he replaced it. So anybody of a nervous disposition, put your fingers in your ears or your hands over them, or turn your back and crawl under a rock and hide. So in 3, 2, 1, go! Now we're going to light the tape beamers. In earlier single cylinder tractors that start with a blowtorch, but field marshals use, well, it's are we allowed to say fag paper now? It's like the fag paper, little tape, and you roll it up and you light it, and then you might look at that and think, well, what does that do? Well, I'll tell you something for nothing, it won't start without it. So you get that smouldering nicely. And then that screws in the front here in the cylinder head. So we're good to go. All set in the start position. The decompressor's set. The tapers are light. It's out of gear. And there we are. So you imagine you'd had to get up 2 hours early, particularly on a Monday morning, to steam your thrashing engine up, and then suddenly you had one of these, and you could wander down to the stackyard, stuff the handle in the flywheel, and away you went. And to be honest, hand starting with the handle was the preferred method of starting these, because you did get a bit of residue off of the cartridge that could stick your valve up, and then you'd be in the embarrassing position of having a thrashing job to do and having a tractor that wouldn't start. Now I'm going to light the blue touch paper again. There we go. A friend of mine with the field marshal went to Crawford's in Boston for some bits and pieces. They've been field marshal dealers for years and years, and they wanted to know if they could interest him in a box of starting cartridges. He said, I've got 400 in my house. They said, you've got more than we had. Probably a bit damp, because they was ones his granddad had bought. So you see now Sam's taken the cover off the receptacle where the cartridge goes. There we are. Put the cover back on. A special mallet. Did that come with it? Just like that.